Welcome to iconographers meeting of 23rd of July 2022. Today we speak about learning iconography and how our goals, our values and preferences change in process of learning. And I'll speak first about myself, sharing some pictures, some I don't know, little historical pieces like specific moments when I had this period, I had that period, and inviting you for a discussion. So you may probably share what could be here. Hi, for Margarita. We have started our meeting and I've started recording. So I begin sharing the images. And well, it's not a secret that I started as iconographer when I was helping to my dad. So here is my smiling face on the right. Uh, he mostly asked me to help him in teaching in Italy. So he had a group of people who were coming every year in Trento and Abbazia di Padova for several years. And that was a great experience for me. I somehow we do not see Sor Margherita here in this year, but probably it was another period. And that was a great experience for me as I saw how he was teaching and I saw how people were keen to learn what he was doing. So that was a great time of inspiration. But after that time, of course, there will be other months and months when I would come back home. And the method of Father Andre, my dad, regarding me was that he asked me to redraw the ancient models. Well, the medieval icons were supposed to be redrawn with yellow ochre on large pieces of watercolor paper or cartridge paper, just to study them. And there were several different approaches, but mainly that was it. So the study was supposed that you redraw things, trying to understand how they're made. And I'm not sure I should share all the details of the process, but when I lived with my family, with my parents, my dad was helping me to finish the icon, so they would have a good look after at the end. So I have started this icon in the beginning, but then it was him who accomplished it, who completed it, so it would look professionally. It would have a good look. And the same about this one. So there were several my decisions which were performed in the beginning, but at the end he said, "Well, Philip, you know what? It's not good. This, it's not good. That. I rather finish it so you can sell it. You can have money for it. So let's make it the way I think professionally is good." And that was the first icon I have or I had when I moved to St. Petersburg, when I split with my parents, which actually really was that process. And I didn't really have much understanding of what a finished icon should look like at the end. I just had the ideas I heard my dad was saying, but I didn't have this complex vision, which I think, I hope, with the years I have gained. But at that moment, my understanding of the process of learning and performing was that you're supposed to copy what you see on the model and to understand certain relationships, like why this color would be darker, this color would be lighter, and trying to perform it, I was taught to start thinking it mine. So like, if this is your work and you are responsible for it. So these were two things. First, you're trying to be with your model, but from the other hand, you are supposed to make it yours. And that was an interesting challenge. But apart from like not really being able much to work with a good drawing, because my drawing was first very much copying process. I wasn't really much understanding what I was copying after 8 years. And that was the process I began with. And then I had a first encounter with the client. which in that case had a church built near a railway station. And the railway station was a sponsor of this little church building process. So the client wanted me to paint St. Nicholas, patron of the church, holding the steam train in his hands to commemorate the sponsorship of this, I don't know, train station. And I had 3 days of headache when at the end I came to this gentleman, priest, and said, Father Alexei, you know what? There are 3 cases you can represent saint with something in hand. First, it was his daily situation, or he was glorified due to this object. Second, there were some miracles related to this object and this saint. And third, somebody dreamed about this saint having this object nearby. If neither of these happened, Father Alexei, you know what? Sorry, I cannot perform that. He said, all right, no worries. So very often the ideas given to us by our clients are just their ideas, which not necessarily have to have very serious meaning for us. So we do think them seriously, but very often they're not. And that's a very interesting thing I discovered even later when I was dealing with other clients. And I was trying to, again, copy, to redraw, repaint even images from models, willing my images to look good, to look nice, to look well performed, I think. Without killing myself too much, I thought they should be good icons, but I didn't know what it was. And the process I was trying to perform, I guess now, I was doing all the steps I'm supposed to. So you're supposed to have the background, the drawing, the highlight number 1. I was doing all this, trying to make all these steps in a good way, thinking that at the end, that should result in something good. And I guess from point of view of, how to say, visual significance of these works, they do function well, are icons which were targeted for some visual dialogue, even though now I would have done them with much, I don't know, less efforts, with less details and more simplified. Well, that was the process. And at a certain point, I understood that gilding was a very important part of the iconography world, and I started applying more gold. And yet, in every detail, I was trying to give a character, like to this blue in relationship to this red. It was interesting to find some interesting connection. And yes, that was about 2011, I guess, when I thought that I can perform quite well what I was willing to. Like if I had a model, and I thought after 11 years of autonomous work every day, I arrived to a level when I thought that I can perform whatever I'm required to, whatever I ask myself to perform. And at that time, I had lots of works in gold because that's what most clients require, but also some of them with not much. So it was interesting process of feeling you can do many things and you can move forward with that. So just do better, do even better than better. And at a certain point, it was an interesting clutch, I can say, breaking point, when you feel that having done what you have desired, what you have designed in your mind is not enough. So you have done a rendering of some Italian crocifix, Italian cross, which you like how you have done, but in what you see, there is something missing. So not good enough in some dimension. Some dimension is missing. I don't know what. And at that time, when myself and also Olga had this number of icons on our shelves, like, I don't know, a couple of dozens, we had an exhibition in United States in Wesley Seminary, which was generous to accept us, to invite us for this show. And that was an interesting process because when you see your works are taken, your works are invited to an exhibition, you think, it was something, and I may probably continue doing things which would be a little more free than I used to. So moving a little forward from what you see on the model and you perform on your board, doing a little more research. And from this point, we discovered an interesting thing that before doing some serious work, you can apply gesso on just plain piece of wood and experiment on that. So I remember we promoted this at our courses. Just take the board you would use to cut the bread and just apply the gesso and try painting on it. You're not responsible for huge problems because it's just your own little piece. You can like clean it up, you can throw away the board, but that gives a freedom. And after this, it was very interesting to see how visual means work. Because if you try to take some old models, it looks like it's sealed up. All their decisions have already been made, and they have it so solid, so serious decisions. There is no space for your move forward, for your step forward, because the moment you change something, everything changes. But how to change this? You have to learn playing with things so you know how they behave. Yes, playing with colors, playing with composition and other things, then you understand. So we started playing on these little pieces of wood gesso, and that was an interesting process because it allows you to see the possibilities this image can provide. You can treat your model in different ways. You can make it longer, shorter, more red, more blue, more many different things. And from that moment, we began really working more autonomously. And I'm just showing you few more images because I wish to listen to you. In this case, I was inspired by a fresco in Cappadocia, which was quite pale, and I decided I want an icon to be so pale. But after having done the icon with this pale background, I said, the same composition can be darker. So it's time for playing, but playing means experimenting, researching with the tools you have in hand. You have the possibilities. And I think for me, the main process, the main moment, the main breaking point was when I decided to make a series of images which I called I think it was, I called it Testament, something like that, about relationship between God and man, God and humans. And I decided to make them 7 images and 7 days of creation, 7 colors, maybe too many stupid symbolism, but that was the creation of Adam, and that was Adam and Eve behind the tree, who supposedly was the moment when they were tempted. And here is, of course, Noah, who's having this little boat, and Moses receiving the commandments. So in these cases, it was always movement of God towards the man. So it was for me a great challenge, because when I started analyzing relationship of God and man, or humans, it was always that God was acting and humans were accepting or behaving badly. So there was always God who was the main actor of every event. And that was a challenge for me to find the moment when humans would do something good or would do something, I don't know, deserving particular attention, or be actors. Yes, because here Noah is accepting what's given. It's always humans accepting what God is suggesting or insisting on. And the only moment was probably this, when Abraham said, okay, God, I'm accepting this, but it's my own will, which I am overcoming. Yes, I'm overcoming my sympathy or my love towards my son, and I'm just trying to perform this. And the last thing probably, which would also suggest some human interaction, some human act, was the Job, who had questioned God about several things, like, God, why did you do that and why didn't you do this? And it was an interesting thing also to find how to represent them in a dialogue, but yet to show how different they were, how different roles they had in the dialogue. And after having to do this, after doing from zero, from scratch, I had no model. Well, for some of them, I had models like for this and for that, but for some of them, I had no models, and that set me free. So from that moment, I don't remember what was the time, but I feel that you can accomplish whatever you want, and you can find whatever you want new solution for every image. That's how they can look together at the end. So, oh yeah, I missed that one, when God is leading Adam out of Adam. And so that was the time I moved forward till the moment when I felt the number of details can be huge, but probably it's not details that count. And after that time, I had an inquiry for a crucifix for a church where all the walls are white, but the wall of iconographers was all red. And I had to figure out how to make the icon, the crucifix for them function. And I found that the best way to use was the encaustic, because it's the most it's most expressive technique. It shows the very substance of paint actively participating in the image creation. So that was it. And the last one I'm showing is the one I made maybe a couple of months ago in Tbilisi to present St. Vladimir, where I am showing some highlights and shadows, which I would kill myself for making appropriate way some years ago. But now the main problem for me is to direct the attention of the beholder towards the face and to be able to build the face in a way which looks fully balanced, focused, and not bothering us in time of prayer. So that, I think, is how my evolution has been, performed, changed. And I'd be happy to hear if you would have any, thoughts regarding your own way in iconography and how your own thoughts, your own path, what turns your path had. I don't know who would like to be first. Maybe Peter, who joined first, or somebody else, whatever. Peter?
That's so interesting to see your progression. And what I think one of the things that has happened to me, because over the last 8 years I've been painting over 100 icons for a calendar of saints and holy people, and I can tell which year I painted them because of the change, and the change actually usually happened after the January of that year. So I'd learned from Philip and Olga how to do highlights on clothing. That must be that year there, because I've gone crazy on highlights. And I'm painting a commission at the moment, and I resonate with your dilemma. The client has said, well, this is what I want. And he wants colours that I wouldn't have chosen from an icon, a reputable icon of St. Matthew. But I think it's going to work okay. There's an English saying, he who pays the piper calls the tune. And it's kind of true, but not always. I mean, I think what what you've helped me with, Philip, is the integrity of the artist theologian, and they both go together. My main postgraduate studies have been in music and hymn writers, and trying to recognize poets and musicians who have also to be theologians, or it doesn't work in the church. So I think that's true for iconography. We have to know the craft of painting, but also know what we're painting and why we're painting and what message is being conveyed. So I think I'm probably at a point of daring to experiment, but not with the commission I'm doing at the moment.
That's the time of growing, because only experimenting you grow, and after, when you do the commissions, you'll have more power, more full ability to utilize whatever you have in hand.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I've just got this one to hand, which I did a few months ago, which is experimental.
on wood. You see the raw wood surface, yes?
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. Maybe anybody else like to say something regarding the experience and, I know, steps or problems, like, oh, that was the problem, or no, I was always happy, or Sue, yes.
I've always felt very restricted and as though I've got to follow the canon and the rules, and so I copy a lot. I don't feel the freedom of changing anything. But as I mentioned to you, I'm doing the Stations of the Cross, which aren't, I don't think, iconographic subjects. They are, but I don't like the style. So it's been a real challenge to paint them in a way that would be acceptable. But I think some of them aren't acceptable as icons, but they are, I hope, they will speak to the viewer. It's been a real challenge, and through my journey as an iconographer of learning, there's lots of different techniques and methods that teachers teach, and so I get very confused as to what I want to express and how I want to paint. How, like you're saying, you taught from your father, but at some stage you have to be Philip, and that's a real challenge to break away and do that.
But then then I really suggest the project where you would be not responsible for nothing. Yes, you just set yourself for producing something absolutely free. If it doesn't come out, you just tear it in pieces and throw away.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm yearning to do, and but then I've got these Stations of the Cross. I've got 2 more to do, and then I think I'll be free to do it then. But I think that's a cop-out in that you spend all your time worrying about the next painting and not being free enough to just do something else. If you know what I mean.
Yes, I do. I do. No, it does depend on the client because they can be very suffocating ones. So I understand if it is, and the same, Olga always says the same, that working for order is way different than working without it. It's like two different states of mind. And like about once or twice a year, she says, I will never more make any order. Okay, don't ask me. Then in, I don't know, several months or somebody writing a letter. So I like this and this, I like this one. Well, I probably make it. So it's really depends very much on how you treat yourself while you're making the order, while you're performing your own activities, and how much of your energy is spent to think whether it's working well or not, whether my client will like it or not. So part of your brain is kept by a program which is constantly controlling whether what you're doing now is acceptable for your client or not. So this is a terrible feeling.
There's so much pressure when you have a commission that you need to get the blues
Adjust.
right and the yes.
Well, it's a great problem because really it's the question of attitude to the artist as the attitude to a designer. Because I'm having the same issue now with my current priest who's asked me to make iconostasis, but like the moment I start speaking about icons, which the iconostasis will have, he says, no, we will discuss this later. So after 1 year and something, I discovered he invited me as the one who produces the construction with mosaic, but not the icons. So I'm saying, well, Father Michael, you know what, we probably will have to split because it's like, I feel I'm doing a good job, but I'd like to finish it with a couple of cherries on the pie, not just cook the pastry for your pie. Okay, so pastry is fine, but I want this pastry to become something. And so, yeah, I fully understand you. And it somehow has to finish. I don't know how, but it has to be respect towards the artist. How to earn this respect? Yet I do not know. It's probably contract or a way you speak in the very beginning saying, okay, you know what? I only do what I want. If you agree, you pay me. If you do not, you do not. But yet I'm not that good in saying that. So I probably will achieve this level of, I don't know, new Zen, but not yet. Not always.
When I was negotiating this painting that I'm doing, it's a fellow minister. He's an old friend, and he's Chinese, and we're sort of coming to this agreement. He says, "Do I have to sign anything?" I said, "Oh, no. And he said, "Oh, well, good Chinese practice. We'll shake hands." I said, "Yes, but if you don't like it, you don't have to buy it." "Oh, no. We'll have agreed." "No, if you don't like it, somebody else will buy it."
This is best. Yeah, this is the best when you can allow yourself. But when you work in a church, you cannot bring it home. So it's a huge construction. You can't detach it. So in some cases, you have to agree about something in serious projects. And in the beginning, I had the idea that it was all right. That's a part, but I was really willing to ask you how your ideas of what you want some years ago change from what you want now, from your work, from the works of others, from how you imagine your profession. It was great, Peter, to hear about the theology, as the iconographers and theologians have to embody the ideas the church proclaims. But something more practical, maybe. I don't know, Emma, Elizabeth? Sue? Emma? No. Who was speaking?
For me, I want my icons. I want people to be able to relate to them. find, I think, yeah, as you do, you want your icons to speak to people, and a place where that they can find God, and a place where they can just sit and be with the image, and have an experience of God in that place. And I think that's a huge ask of what we do, but it's what we want from our works. And so I think also we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as we I painted an icon, it would have been about 10 years ago, and I put it up at an exhibition just for, just to fill a gap, and someone bought it. And then a few years later, I did a commission for that person. And I went and visited him to take the new icon to him. And he said, and here's the other one. And it took my breath away, because he'd had it by the door in this beautiful lighting. And I thought, it was just amazing. And I thought, it's such a precious gift that we've got to do this, to bring the word of God to the world. And I think that's a huge responsibility that we all have to do.
Okay, but what about the past? You're saying about present things, and I was happy to hear you sharing this unpredictable encounter. Like, oh, what a good job! Who did it? Oh, it was me. Oh, good. So yes, the first thing you see your eye professionally notices the values which are for you important, and you see they're solved in a good way. So good job. But how it changed, what you had, what ideas, what thoughts you had when you just began this path, when you were just getting involved in it, how you imagined yourself in the best, I don't know, what you were trying to achieve. Okay.
Well, my third icon that I attempted was the Trinity. And in retrospect, it took me years and years and years to finish. And as you wanted to do the most beautiful and the best icons you could, and you realized back then you couldn't. There was so much more to learn, and yeah.
Yeah, but what to learn? What? I'm trying to ask you, what you think was most important? The drawing and painting skills? Okay, that's what missing. But you had, why did you do that? You wanted to be iconographer to do what? To what? Why? What change would it make in the world, in the universe? Yes, you were thinking, okay, I want to do this because the universe wants me to, because I want this image. But what were your desires in the beginning? So, well, maybe somebody else would like to say, maybe you don't remember. Maybe you were always thinking, okay, I just want to create this little piece of peace.
I think that's one of the thing is it's the enjoyment of painting. The process is the happy time, the exploring time, the solving problems time, and beyond that, it's actually quite difficult to project what I desire. I mean, for me, when I was asked to help with the Uniting Church Icon School, which meant teaching, then learning how to be a half decent coach to other people who wanted to enjoy painting icons became the aim. And I guess it still is, because that's the primary thing that I'm asked to do. But experimenting with, I mean, I wouldn't dare to try encaustic. It sounds very challenging. But what I'm hearing you say, Philip, in the encaustic, just as a little aside, is the texture of the paint using wax is something different. I mean, it's a bit like oil painting or painting with a spatula, or you get thickness to the paint, which adds to the whole image. So it's a difficult question, Philip.
Yes. What do you want now? What is different from what do you want when you started? That's my main question. How it makes it different? Because when you graduate from school, you wish to have, I don't know, zillion of money and an isle in the ocean. Yes. Now you think, okay, leave me in peace. Let me do what I want. Yeah. The change of wishes, change of desires. So can you say in your professional career or iconography career, you had this change of desires? In the beginning, I wanted that. Now I want this. Sorry, I didn't explain myself well. Maybe we ask Emma, who probably would, I don't know, share some thoughts. Sorry.
Well, not sure if I'm so at the beginning of the learning about iconography, but in my background, I'm a jeweler by background, although I don't practice that at the moment. But so I'm trying to relate that question to my jewelry practice, I guess. And that's a very difficult question, especially going back so far in the beginning. I'm sure I had a different hope, I guess, than what I did in the sort of towards the end of my practice. Yes, I wish I could answer that. It's hard. It's a hard question.
Sorry.
No, not at all. It's a very good question. I'd like to ponder it further. I guess what changed over time and having clients that you worked with, I guess, because I worked with a lot of clients in a contemporary jewelry sphere. In the beginning, I remember working with clients, and I was so desperate to please them and work with their parameters. And over the years, I think I changed to become a bit more confident in my decision making, I guess. And the times that I enjoyed the most working with clients was when we worked together and they would actually work with me during the process. So they didn't give me a brief and then just see the work at the end. The best and what I would hope for in the future would be working in any medium, I guess, would be to work with the client through the process, but where I had the confidence to set the boundaries, I guess, with what they wanted and what expertise I had to bring with it. And I think there is a happy medium there somewhere.
It's difficult. No, you're right. It's ideal situation. We do have it sometimes, but it's very difficult to achieve. Okay, so it's interesting to think of how our understanding should be melting or should be contradicting the understanding of those who really order or commission the work. Because if you were, I don't know, film directors we were always dealing with hundreds and hundreds of people whom we were supposed to always explain what we want. Yes, please do that this way. And in this case, we explain to our medium what we want with our hands, and we explain to our client that that's what he or she wants from us. Interesting. Okay. I guess that probably it's also the moment when you live in it, because every work, every concrete image suggests different problems and different decisions. Because in some cases, when there are like 5 figures, it's the dialogue between these 5 figures. It's one figure, it's one thing. So it probably is very often depends on what you're painting. But another thing I wanted to mention is probably the fear. Because when you feel in front of you, it's a complicated subject or something you've never done before, you are afraid you will not be able to do it well. You say, it's such a difficult thing. How can I approach it? And this is bad. Well, I mean, it's normal to be afraid of your new complex and difficult task, but the bad thing is to allow yourself to work in this state. So it probably has to be time for you to feel it yours, to play with this difficult task, to simplify it, think, okay, yeah, well, I don't know how to cook a dinner for 500 people, but I know how to cook for 5 people. And I start with 5, and then I multiply my result. So that is a problem also, but I teach myself not to be afraid when I do something, because that's a bad thing. I just remembered it. I probably should mention it. So if you feel you are afraid of doing something, stop. Make sure you're not afraid of it. Do something. Find a trick for not to be afraid of what you're going to do. Because then it will be like, if you're afraid of it, it will be formal. Like, you require me to do this, I'll do this, here it is, bye. Otherwise, if you know what you're talking about, and you are like, when you're creating something, it's yet not just, look, here is my perfect picture. It's yet a dialogue, yes, because you're making an investigation of how this will connect with that. And you are suggesting your investigation as a possibility to communicate with the viewer. And that David, artist in Georgia, which keeps saying, like, you do not have to do all the job. Allow the beholder to finish your job. So you suggest something for consideration, you give these little points, which for the beholder will look like a poetry. From 2 words, from 3 words, will capture the huge image. So this is important. When you make it yours, it becomes yours, and it can function properly. It can be accepted with, say, it's visible when you fully possess what you work with. Yeah, it don't mean you're demonstrating your skills, but you just really possess what you do. And that you can only achieve, we are not afraid. So that's why we teach the drawing, because when you know how to draw, you possess it. You are king of the nose. You know how to draw the nose.
I think one of the things that I've been aiming for just recently, and doing the sketches for the commission that I'm doing, is to work more from the shoulder than from the knuckle. Now, to be freer, to get the whole arm moving, and you know, that's a real challenge for me. But the last effort that I made, I was much happier with it. And the pencil was going all over the place, but the end result was, yeah, much happier. Yeah. And I got onto this from one of our students who has learned art she's now learning iconography, but she went to art school and she paints from the shoulder. It's just wonderful to watch. Yeah, and she attacks it.
Good. No, because it's a muscle movement, but we also perceive it as muscle movement on the image. We see these lines as created as long ones. So yes, that's right. That's the right way to say it. We draw straight lines in a construction, so our eye has some guideline to follow. And when the guideline is done, we can go deeper and watch details. But details should not be burdening the vision. So yes, you're totally right. No. Well, it's a problem, and it's a problem to make yourself step back, because when you're doing something, you feel comfortable. And I feel it's something in our genes to do the craftsman's work, to just keep going, keep moving with your little piece of something, and just stamina. But the brain has to tell you, no, ding, ding, time to go away. Ding, ding, look from a distance from what you're doing. It's a great problem. I even should probably make an app on the phone, which would just make a bell sound every, I don't know,
Ding,
2 minutes. Yes, 2 minutes. Go back, distract, stack yourself from image. Yes. So Peter, no, and working with the hand, it's also one of the ways you see it from a longer distance.
For me, I know that I need to learn how to sketch again, to draw the icon rather than copying and tracing, and I need to get the skills of drawing the icon myself, and I think that's a bit daunting for me. I sort of think, oh, I can't do it, and every now and again I do it, and I think, gee, that worked out well, but it's always the fear that I can't do it. You know, it's so what's your tip to overcome the fear of I can't do this?
Yeah, but when you play with something like paper, there's no fear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
use
true.
paper, play with paper.
And do it often and often.
Yes, for at least for every image you're doing, because then you will have a concrete knowledge. This is good, this is not. And you've done this without utilizing gold, utilizing board or any other responsible materials. So play irresponsibly to be more responsible. Sounds crazy, but
perfect.
We had an art teacher in Warrnambool, a town down on the coast in Victoria, and he would say sketch every day and sketch with a ballpoint pen.
Oh, even ballpoint pen.
Yeah, and so every stroke matters.
Well, that's another requirement. Every stroke matters. So if you make a stroke, it should matter.
Yeah, and you work it into what your picture. Yeah. However, a 2B pencil and an eraser is my constant companion.
Companions. Best companions on the way. Okay.
Posso?
Yes, Sor Margherita. Or you can speak Italian, I can translate.
Ok, grazie.
Yes, but short phrases, okay?
Yeah.
Short phrases. Sì.
Scusa. Filippo? Mi sono collegata solo adesso. È molto stimolante la conversazione che stiamo tenendo. Io ho riflettuto molto sul discorso della paura e penso
This conversation is very stimulating, and I completely agree with your conversation regarding the fear. Yes.
E vedo come il percorso dell'iconografo è un percorso di vita.
And I see that the road of an iconographer is the road or path of life.
Nella vita piano piano parlo della vita anche soprattutto di un cristiano che fa un cammino alla luce di Dio, si impara piano piano a non aver paura.
And we can say the same about our own life as Christians who walking in God's life, step by step, start learning how not to be afraid of things, how not to fear.
E questo lo si impara man mano che appunto nel cammino della vita comprendiamo che quanto siamo amati e arriviamo ad accettarci completamente.
And this we can learn only walking forward step by step understanding how much we are loved and how much we are accepted, so we also can accept ourselves, fully accept ourselves in what we are doing.
Proprio come sono, con tutti i miei limiti.
With all my limits, with all my restrictions, I am the way I am.
E quindi non ho più bisogno di compiacere me stesso o gli altri, cosa che ci condiziona davvero tanto.
I hope I can do it well. So if the way I am is something which already is accepted, yes, I am done the way I am. So I probably don't have to please everybody with some extra efforts or make any specific, I don't know, killing. I'm not supposed to kill myself to please everybody else, neither with my own destiny, neither with the job I'm doing. So you are doing what you're supposed to, you're doing your best, but why do you have to please people?
Yeah. E penso che questa sia la situazione ideale in cui posso essere un vero strumento dello Spirito Santo che mi può usare per comunicare con i miei fratelli quello che mi ha messo dentro.
And in this case, I can really feel the instrument or tool of the Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit, which has given to me what I have, which can use me to communicate certain things to my brothers and sisters, to humanity around me. So I feel that I rather should listen to the Holy Spirit than to people who would wish me to do something for their own preferences. Sorry for my sound, probably. All right. So being an instrument of Holy Spirit does not mean you have to obey all the human rules and requirements. Does it sound okay?
A me è capitata una cosa, le icone più forti che mi è capitato di realizzare, poche, sono state in momenti di grandissima prova interiore, per cui anche quelle che potevano essere abilità che riconoscevo a me stessa erano azzerate, psicologicamente parlando.
The icons which I have produced during the years, I think the ones which I have accomplished in these times, and like let's say that the icons which at the end came to be good icons, and even I can say strong icons among all the ones I have produced, were the ones I have produced in period of trial of my own biography. So when I had the most difficult times in myself, for myself, and less ability to polish the details, these have become the best of my icons. Not best in sense of best or perfect, but best in sense of most powerful tools.
E questa cosa mi ha fatto molto pensare. Ci ho riflettuto in questi giorni che sto lottando col Covid e sono bloccata dove non avrei dovuto essere, ma in cui dovevo essere.
And I was thinking about this a lot in these days when I'm blocked with COVID. So I started reasoning about that, as I cannot have access to other parts.
E A me ha colpito molto della volta scorsa la cosa che ti ha detto David, che sono pochi gli istanti che devi stare davanti alla tua opera e poi ti allontani. E questo mi ha fatto riflettere perché può aiutare in un atteggiamento contemplativo. In fondo noi siamo chiamati come cristiani soprattutto ad ascoltare, a guardare molto più che a parlare. Noi occidentali siamo molto più viziati di voi orientali, perché noi parliamo, pensiamo.
Okay. I think so. When I was quoting David last time, who was speaking that we shouldn't speak too much in our images. Image should be more silent, that should not provide too much information for the viewer. So Margherita idea was that the same thing about meditation. In meditation, we are not supposed to speak, we're supposed to listen. So this is the skill we should be learning when we want to talk to God. We not just speak to God, we listen to God, which in the Eastern culture probably is a little more common to be in peace and silence rather than in West, where people are probably more used to be talking and reasoning and thinking and doing some things instead of accepting what is given. So iconography is giving you possibility to meditate, but it should not be overwhelming you when you want to meditate. Is it right?
Mi è successo proprio in questi giorni, sono rimasta molto colpita dall'evoluzione dei tuoi lavori e mi piacciono tantissimo le cose che stai facendo sul legno e sulla terracotta. Mi è capitato in questi giorni di stop forzato in un posto meraviglioso di avere del legno sotto mano. Una grande tavola antica, tutta col tarlo, con dei buchi. Allora la mia testa è partita, ha detto, ah, guarda, questo potrebbero essere i chiodi, il buco dei chiodi della tavola, questa è la presa del costato, e ho fatto degli schizzi di testa.
In these latest times, I've occasionally found a big board of some old history, which already had some holes out of nails, and my brain started thinking like, oh, these holes in the board can function, can work as a specific part of the future image.
Poi dopo ho messo questa tavola qua. L'altra mattina l'ho guardata e ho detto no, voglio ascoltarla, non voglio metterci la mia idea sopra, voglio ascoltarla.
But then I brought it here, I put it nearby, and another morning I looked at it and I thought, no, I rather don't impose my ideas. I want to listen to what this board wants to suggest me to do with it. So, yes.
E ho preso un pezzo di legnetto bruciato, perché qui non ho nessun materiale a disposizione, e ho provato a mettere sul pezzettino quello che mi pareva che la tavola dicesse. E devo dire che sono venute due cose completamente diverse. La seconda credo che parli, non sono vabbè, ci siamo capiti, non so. E non so poi cosa realizzerò lì sopra, però è cambiato l'atteggiamento, mi sono messa in ascolto di questa cosa.
COVID is good sometimes.
Good COVID.
So what happened is, like, in isolation, there is no art material except for little charcoal piece from firewood, and started designing something on this board has completely changed the approach to the image. Like, if you have nothing, you have no imposed hundreds of obligations to realize on this board. You just have to do certain things which have to become an image, but what kind of image? It all depends on you. So simple instrument, simple realization can bring forward good result. Is it okay? Does it have some?
Ok,
Okay.
grazie.
Thank you. No, it's a pleasure. And really, the constrained circumstances sometimes can result in, I know, springing
Yeah.
out something new, something special and creative. Thank you for sharing this, Margarita.
Grazie a voi.
Thank you very much. Okay, great. That was a great thing to charcoal drawing on the old wood. Well, old wood, Peter, it's becoming a trend. I guess it's virus. Everybody is paying attention to how the old wood can function. And yes, I'm with you very much. Listen to the wood.
You started it with.
Well, it was my, yes, I escaped and I had to use what was, no, I just saw that it was great and I started using it. So yes, indeed. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Reed. All right, well, I didn't really get much answer of what have changed this time for you, which I was counting on. It was interesting to see the biography of an iconographer. We all start with this, we all arrive here. Well, I will listen to those who will be in the evening, and then I will publish all together. We'll see. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We'll have to think about it and bring it back to you the next time. We'll have to look at our own journeys. It's a challenge. Thank you, Philip.
Well, it's fine. And now I'm thinking about the next month, which could be August 20th. Yes, I'm hoping it may be August 20th. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for coming. And if any of you would have any ideas for discussing better than I suggest, I'm happy to speak on anything. And encaustic is a great thing, Peter, but yet it requires a specific topic which probably will not be interesting for everybody. So I'll probably make an introduction video from my side, like what I find important, what I find useless, and how it changes my life, but not for everybody. So we rather make something more general for everybody. Don't know yet what is going to be, but I will announce it soon. Okay, then. Elizabeth, you said no word today. Maybe you'd like to say something before we say goodbye.
Well, my friend Emma would tell you that that's the most unusual state of affairs and you should just enjoy it while it lasts.
Okay. All right.
No, look, I'm so new to everything. I'm just happy to listen and learn, and I found it really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, then. Wow. If we don't have really anything specific or something general or personal to discuss, we probably will meet the 20th of August. Will we? If you have time, if it's okay, if you have possibility. All right.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you
you.
for coming, Peter, Sue, Emma, Elizabeth, and so Margarita.
See you
Thank
soon.
Thanks,
Thank you
Philip.
very much, Philip. It was very fascinating listening to your story. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Bye.
Philip. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye, Elizabeth. Bye, Sister Margaret.
Bye.